Hi. So today I want to discuss a little bit the LimaCharlie, the Agentic SecOps workspace. This is a concept and a capability that we've released a couple of weeks back, but I really want to dig in specifically to the impact for service providers and to look into what does it look like for service providers, what you can do with it. The reason is very simple. It's different, right? If you're a service provider, you know this, but it's not necessarily obvious to people that aren't in the trenches like that. That a product that is a great product designed for just normal enterprise scenarios is just not necessarily really well adapted to providers. Specifically, when you've got 5,000 tenants, it turns out things get different, right? You don't have one environment, you've got 5,000 environments. They all have different capabilities. They all have different stacks that you integrate differently. They all have different change management. They all have, different things that you need to detect there. LimaCharlie's always been really amazing at scaling up to this because it is a purpose-built platform for this, right? So infrastructure as code, multi-tenancy, those are core tenants, everything being API first core tenants that really allowed us to operate very, very easily for service providers that need to do this at scale. And you'll see that the Agentic SecOps workspace is an extension of that. We very much wanted to put forward a vision of leveraging AI that first and foremost just brings a lot of value to service providers. Second, can actually be operated with on service providers. What I mean by this here is the billing. So billing is quite different, right? If you're being billed by token, kind of dead in the water because how many tokens, how many alerts do I do per tenant? I've got 5,000 tenants. How do I even begin to, look at this? It gets crazy expensive. So LimaCharlie's Agentic SecOps workspace kind of solves all of these problems. So let's flip into the platform. I will show you very kind of visually what you can do. And that will kind of, I think, open up a little bit the doors that will give you some ideas on the things that you could do. Because the first thing that I'll mention is, look, this may visually look a little bit like like a chatbot. It cannot be further from the truth. So yes, it's text, right? Back and forth. But what you're going to see is effectively Claude code. So what we're doing is we're taking not Claude, the online chat version, but Claude Code, which is something that's designed to run on a box on Windows or Mac or Linux. In this case, we run it on Linux. And really the big differentiator there is you don't have just a hermetic, very thin environment that has to be completely customized, use case by use case. Instead, you get this amazingly powerful Swiss Army knife for you, the operator, to wield as part of your operations in your SOC or just generally in the service provider. So let's take a quick look. So what you're seeing here is the LC-AI repo. I start by calling this out because everything you'll see, Claude Code, yes, everything you will see, bring your own subscription. So I mentioned the billing. This is where just right off the bat, the billing model completely changes things. It is a flat fee per analyst, per person in your SOC that you want access per month. That's it. They get everything that they need. And the capabilities themselves are agentic. Now I know it sounds a little bit, like it's a bit of a buzzword at this point, but I want to call out the difference. These are not use cases that we've programmed for you. What we've done is the platform as a whole, 100%. I really, truly mean 100%. Think everything you do with your tech stack and a service provider, all of it is accessible through AI as tools. And then the AI model is intelligent enough to know how to get to the goals that you give to it. And so you'll see that this repo is essentially a plugin. If you want to run Claude Code locally on your own box, you can absolutely do that. We go through the very, very simple installation process here. But the beauty of it is that this is not a black box. This is not a magic secret sauce that we're going to keep you in, in that walled garden and then you're going to be stuck with us. No, 100% of it is skills. And you can go, you can look at those skills, understand how they work, and you can even go and then modify them to fit your own purposes. It's all English. It's all marked down. It's extremely simple. So, hey, you've got your own standard operating procedure to plug in new data sources because you need to go and integrate into ServiceNow. You need to go into integrate into, whatever ticketing or automation system you might have. You can absolutely come in here and just, have like one of your analysts type in English, like, here's what we need to do. And then have the AI able to actually operate and do that for you. So let's get into the platform itself. So I will go through examples. Again, they are not use cases that we've baked in, and those are the use cases, and we bill you per SKU per use case. No, this is everything all at once across the whole stack. So these are just examples of things that I thought, hey, that's pretty useful for a service provider. So let's just start there. So I started a session. What you're seeing here is the fully managed version of Claude Code in LimaCharlie. So that means, as an operator or as an analyst or head of the SOC, whatever, you can be in the LimaCharlie web app. You don't need to have it installed locally. You can just create a session in a second and then have it pre-configured with your own MCP servers if you'd like, pre-configured with your own CLIs, with your own API keys. You can apply all kinds of profiles. So you can really make this extremely powerful, much more powerful even than it is. So what we've got here is just me asking a very simple question. In this specific example, I think I've got, order of 5 or 8 different tenants. I know this is nothing when you're a typical service provider, but I just wanted to be able to kind of like give you an idea of it without having to go and, having a list of 5,000 tenants kind of thing. So all I'm asking here is, hey, review all of the tenants that I have access to and find billing outliers. This is a pretty open-ended question. And you will see that it's going to invoke the skills. It's going to start, querying LimaCharlie, querying my different organizations, looking at the billing, and then coming back to me with some ideas of what might be an outlier for me. And so in this case, we can see that, hey, I've got, one tenant that's way more expensive than the others. It's giving me a bit of an idea of what it is. So specifically, I've got 2 subscriptions here that are a bit more expensive than my other tenant. As you can imagine, this being a demo environment, it's pretty low usage. So I've got some sensors. I've got some discount applied because this is just a test environment. And then it's just giving me a couple of recommendations. So we've run this into much bigger environments. The typical things that we'll see are also things like, hey, did you realize that then this one environment, you're bringing in all of the logs from Azure into your tenant, whereas all the other ones, you're only bringing in audit logs. This might be a configuration mistake. You're paying $100 extra a month for this one. Like, do you want me to go and fix it? And by the way, the do you want me to go and fix it is kind of the critical part here, right? The chatbot might only be like read only. This is really the full control over this. And it can go and apply changes if you'd like. It can go and configure things. It can go and onboard things. And in fact, it's going to be an example I'll get into. Okay, that might be a little bit of a worry, right? Like AI is not perfect. Sometimes it makes mistakes. And so we've got a whole bunch of features that are designed to increase trust while you use the AI. First thing I'll mention is, extremely powerful and I would say extremely reliable. So for them to go, you're really, outlier, like doesn't really happen anymore. But the other big advantages that you'll see, I'll unzoom a little bit. The permission system in LimaCharlie is extremely powerful and becomes really, really useful with AI, because what it allows us to do is allows us to give per user, per group, different types of access. And really the one that I want to call out here is the AI agent that operate. What this says is that it's not because one of your analysts has a permission to do something on a specific tenant that they can do that through AI. So you have a permission that's dedicated to you positively signaling this user. Not only do they have like the permission to configure new data sources, they have the permission to let AI do that for them. So it's really a great way of ensuring that the people that you let operate in your environment, you can vet kind of thing, what they're going to be doing or the fact that they understand what they're doing, but you can still give them more manually if they want. So this is super useful. And yes, LimaCharlie has permissions for everything. So you can go extremely granular. So it means that I could be a billing administrator, could be the CFO at an MSSP, and I could have the permission to go and look at billing leveraging AI, and I can absolutely do that. But then I'll know that I'm not going to modify anything. So let me flip back to some other interesting examples. Whoa. All right. So this was pretty vanilla, right? Like this is not really a security task. And I actually started with this specifically because it's pretty frequent. We hear about like those AI SOC companies that really they do alert triaging, and then, you can chat with it and get an idea about something in security. I wanted to start with something that is completely unrelated to security in a weird way. And it's to call out that for a service provider, yes, there's a lot of things with AI that you want to do in responding to security incidents, obviously. But there's so many more things that have nothing to do with security that are huge time sinks. Nobody likes to do, require sometimes like more advanced analysts to be able to do the thing. Not really because it's sensitive, but just because the more junior people don't have the information. So we can absolutely attack those. In fact, let me jump to a different example that's along those lines. Hey, help me configure Azure audit log for Blob Storage, which is like the S3 equivalent in Azure, into my tenant. I've never done this, so take me by the hand. AI will be happy to do that. And so if you kind of go in and you start looking, it just started with, I don't know much about Azure Blob Storage. Here's what it's suggesting to me, right? Like, what type of audit logs are stored in your Blob Storage? And so, like, maybe I'm not even sure. Do you already have audit logs being exported? Yes. Do you have the credentials? No, you're going to have to help me figure out how to get those credentials and then submit answers. And so that way it's just going to go and adapt all of this. It's going to send me to the right URLs in Azure, where to go and create what. It's going to tell me about the security trade-offs, if there are some. If we had a standard SOP as a service provider, I could have baked this in here. So all kinds of things that you can do here. And I just wanted to kind of give you a short idea. We're not going to go through the whole process of doing that. But the beauty of it is, I can answer a couple of questions, and at the end, I can just say like, thank you, and just do it for me. And then it all gets done magically. So this is really great. Let's get into some more security related stuff. So I want you to do some research on OpenClaw, the serveur du jour. OpenClaw, possible vulnerabilities. I've heard that there's a bunch of types of vulnerabilities around that. Look further across all of my tenants, and then create some detection rules for that, because I don't really know what I'm doing here. But I'd like to learn. I'm not looking for, a magic thing that just does it for me and I can't really know exactly what's going on. No, I'm interested. Great. Okay. It's done some search to figure it out, how it works. Then it wrote some to-dos. I've got 6 organizations. Let me hunt across the board. So it's going to look for some OpenClaw processes, like are they even running anywhere? Network connections that might look like connections to like the gateways. I remember reading something about that. So installation paths that relate to Claw Hub skills, which I think is one of the big attack vectors, and atomic stealers distributed. I have no idea what that is, but I bet that it found through its research that it's actually a big deal. So, okay, great. I didn't actually find any of it. That's fine. I kept searching a little bit and eventually came back and said, hey, great. I've got rules for you to go and look for these things. So apparently there's a CVE. It's looking for a Claw Hub, malicious skill campaign, the Atomic Stealer, and it's telling me the results of the threat hunts that it ran on my organization. And then, interestingly, kind of proving a point before, not only is it giving me a bunch of information about the rules that it built, but you can see that it decided like, hey, those are pretty big rules, so I'm just going to have them as files for now. If you want to access them, they're right there. And so, in fact, it's what I did. So, the sources of everything that it ended up doing. And then I actually asked them, like, you know what, I know they're big, but I want to see them right here. And so I decided to go and print those rules for me. You can see they're quite elaborate. They can contain a bunch of information and the links to the various references here. Even adding a vulnerable AI app tag on this part, on a sensor and EDR that it might see with this. So super fascinating stuff. And so it built all of those rules. And then at the end, I could just go and say, like, okay, I want you to add them to all of my tenants. And it would just go and do that, no problem. One thing I'll call out is this here. So we get from the Claude API the amount that this would be charged if you were using API keys. Again, this is with a subscription. Flat fee, don't have to worry about it. You're good to go. But if you wanted to bring your own keys, you could absolutely do that as well. Let's go into two last quick examples. So I wanted to show an example of like doing a thing and just like straight up doing a thing. So, hey, our SOC has a new N8N instance that we use to produce reports to our customers. It's fairly realistic. It happens. I want you to set up a webhook output to from all my tenants for their detection. So I want to send all the alerts from all my tenants into the N8N. And this is the URL where it lives. No problem. Just comes up, looks at all the tenants, creates the outputs to all the tenants. Yeah, you're good to go. It's done. It's done. It's just that simple. Final one, completely different topic. Hey, you're running a service provider. You probably have quite a few analysts, quite a few tenants. So it happens that there's movement. You might say, I need to know what permissions a specific user has across the board. And so this is just going to go and do that. It's going to look at all of your tenants, all the permissions. It's going to look at all of the groups in LimaCharlie, and it's just going to go and give you like a full summary. Hey, here's a key permissions. It's not through a group. Yep, that user has MFA enabled. That's great. All the permissions, all the user IDs, and some tenants where I don't have access. And that's it. So this was meant to be kind of a whirlwind tour of the capabilities for service providers in LimaCharlie. I cannot overemphasize how powerful this is. And as a service provider, look, it can be scary. I remember, getting started with AI, and it can be a little bit scary and exciting at the same time early on. But like any tool, you become good at it just the more you use it. And I can tell you that this is a tool that will absolutely change how you do operations. Not saying it's going to magically replace our analysts. No, not at all, right? It's kind of like in software development. It has not replaced developers, but it's made good developers extremely powerful, extremely fast and efficient. And it's allowed more junior developers to learn more quickly and do operations that historically would have required somebody with more experience. So all of these things end up being extremely valuable for you as a service provider. And the bottom line is, what you're seeing here is not something where, hey, you're going to have to go to some website and go through 3 levels of salespeople to eventually get to a demo and then start negotiating based on how big you are, how much it's going to cost you per year. And it's going to be some weird obscure metric that you're not really going to know exactly how much you're going to end up paying. It is nothing like that, right? LimaCharlie is extremely accessible. Anybody right off the street can come in, start using it, use the community edition, put in a credit card, do whatever you'd like. And the AI integration is not a LimaCharlie product, meaning we don't charge for this. For us, we see that AI is just another operator, just like API, just like the web interface. And so this is just part of this for us. We need to make this accessible in order to make service providers as effective as we can. So, thank you for listening. Hopefully that was useful. Hopefully that was interesting. Hopefully more so you can think about all kinds of usage that you might be able to do. And generally speaking, the answer is yes. The answer is yes, you can do it. It's incredible. So feel free to get in touch with me, with LimaCharlie. Love talking to people in the industry all the time. And let's see what you can build. Thank you.